Hey guys, Majeffries here, and welcome back to the Majeffries Space Center. I'm going to take you into the R&D department because you remember in the last episode we were going to get this upgrade here, which gives us the rechargeable battery bank, the solar panels, and the lights. I decided to take a different turn, and I went for these ones instead. So I got the radial decoupler, the winglet, and the aerodynamic nose cone. And then I went up this way and I got a new type of engine, a Sepratron, and some solid fuel boosters. And then I went for this one, which is the side-mounted liquid engines and a bigger fuel tank. And then I went for this one, which gives you strut connectors, launch stability enhancers, which are just launch towers basically, another radial decoupler, and a stack tri-coupler. And what I've done with that, see I've spent all my science now, is I built a brand new rocket. And if anyone follows me on Twitter or is friends with me on Facebook, you'll see the rocket that I built. So I'll see if I can load it up. I believe it's called the Orbital 1, I could be wrong. Nope, here she is. Big rocket. This is going to be the one that gets us into orbit, guys and girls. First thing I'm going to do is put that back where it was. Oh no, I'm going to get rid of that. Put this into 4x symmetry mode, and I'm going to get rid of all of these. And that should have got rid of all of them. I've done a few test flights with this, and I've noticed a few things that didn't quite work, so I've looked to rectify them. This up here is the business end of the rocket. As always, it's got the parachute on top, it's got the command module beneath, it's got all the batteries, it's got the science bay, which are what the batteries connect to, and it's got this stack decoupler and these legs. This is all fuel to here, and including this bit, I believe. These are fins in case we end up having to pilot this in the inside the atmosphere. If not, then it looks cool in space anyway. These are the radial parachutes, which you are all too aware of, which are actually going to get moved to this end, like so. Are they the right ones? Yeah, looks like it. This is the engine, the new engine that I've unlocked, which you'll guys see in a minute. Inside the center here is another lot of fuel tanks and an engine at the bottom, and this is the interesting bit, these solid fuel rocket boosters here. Now what happens is these fuel boosters, as you can see on the staging, they launch first, and the idea is this rocket flies directly upwards in a vertical plane. Once these solid fuel boosters have run out, they're attached to radial decouplers, which you'll notice and you'll remember from previous episodes is something that I stressed about having because I needed them. Because now once these fuel rockets are empty, these solid fuel boosters are empty, they'll be detached, they'll be jettisoned away from the craft, which reduces the weight of the craft and improves delta V. At the same time as those rockets are ejected by these ejectors here, the main fuel rocket, this one here, ignites, and obviously we're going to lose a lot of weight with these ones, and you might think that that's quite a heavy rocket for, well, it's a quite a heavy structure for one rocket to maintain the altitude with, but this one works perfectly because again it's the new type. If I show you on here, this is the first one we had, I think. No, that's a lie. This is the first one we had, and it's got 200 power. I'm assuming that's kilonewtons or meganewtons. Let's just call it 200. We then unlock this one, of course, for orbital, which is the 50 newtons. This is the new one, 215. So it's not a great deal bigger, but the fact that it is bigger makes a difference. And I believe one of these, oh no, it's the original one that has a vectoring range. This one doesn't. So this one will just fire in a straight line, basically, which is what we wanted. And it uses the same amount of fuel. So that keeps it going up in a straight line. Once this set of tanks here is empty, this whole bit here from this decoupler jettisons. Now these 4 boosters here are designed to point upwards, so in this direction, so that as they jettison, these 4 rockets fire, and it pushes this main rocket here away from this section, and it just means it's a clean break. There's no risk of collision or anything like that. At the same time as all that happens, again you can see from the staging, this rocket fires, which is the one based in here, which I believe is this type. Again, I could be wrong though. This one fires, and this section here upwards continues as a separate craft. Once that tank is empty, what's going on here? Yeah, these 2 Separatrons, I believe they're called, fire, and again it pushes this whole section away, and then it's left for this bit here, the main control module and the science bay and all the batteries and the legs. They become the usual thing that you see floating back through the atmosphere and landing on the surface. So I'll save that quickly. We're going to take a quick look at our crew members. There's old Jebediah. I'm glad he's back actually, because I thought I'd killed him again at one point. I was experimenting with different types of parachutes and what was good and what wasn't good, and I accidentally cut loose a parachute as we were coming into the ocean, and we crashed and blew up, and I thought Jebediah had died, but it looks like he survived, which is good. So what's left to do now is to save that again, in case I've forgotten, which I know I didn't do, but hey ho, whatever. And now we're going to fly this rocket. Now I mentioned a friend of mine, I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago, it might have been in the last one actually. I think I'll put his link to his channel in the description below actually, because he has started doing Kerbal videos as well. He does more complicated things than I do. He does like trips to moon and back. He's been to basically every planet on the game virtually, so he's the one to follow if you want to do long distance, and if you want to be like a newbie and start from scratch and learn how to build upwards as you're watching someone else do the same, then obviously you're in the right place for me. Yeah, he did a video which I'll put a link to as well in the description, where he shows you how to get into orbit, and I'm going from memory here, trying to remember how to do it, because he did it all freehand. He has got MechJeb and he uses MechJeb, but he did it all freehand to show you guys how to do it. So I'm going to try and replicate that as best as I can. So the first thing to do, fire up thrusters like so. You can see there's no wobble on this craft at all, which is brilliant. It means that the stability enhancers, these 4 towers, are working perfectly, and they're also synchronized to launch at the same time as the 4 rocket boosters. So I'm sure you guys are dying to see this thing fly. So it's a question of counting down. 3, 2, 1, launch. And here we go. And you know, I was surprised as well when I saw just how powerful these 4 boosters are, because originally I was going to have another main rocket like this, another 4 of these around, and then boosters on the outside just to give it a bit extra juice. And I might do that actually for further missions, but for now this will do. See, I've got the SAS locked in place, which keeps us going in a nice vertical line. Solid fuel, I mean, it gets us quite high. You can see how high we're cruising now, and we're increasing our velocity still. It does drop down, however, once these 4 boosters jettison, and you will see why momentarily. But the fact that we can get to over 5,000 meters on these 4 boosters alone is very promising, because it's a huge save on fuel. So they're now jettisoned, and you can see our velocity, surface velocity anyway, is free falling. It's at this point that I increase thrust to maximum. Again, it's still dropping. You can see it's starting to slow down a little bit. Our altitude is still going up, so that's always a positive. As long as the altitude's going up, then everything else is fine. And you can see we're still heading up in a vertical line at the moment. We're starting to lose the yellow circle. That's drifting off that way, but that's, again, that's fine. You can see I've done a couple of tests. That's what these ones are for. Our apoapsis at the moment is 11,000 meters, but it's rising. You know, as the craft gets lighter, the surface velocity will start increasing again, which for a second there I thought it was. You can see it's just jumping around. It's getting there. It's getting there. It's going to grind to a halt very shortly. It has rapidly decreased. It was over 100 and something, but it's rising up again, which is always good. Liquid fuel we're doing okay with. We've only used 400 units, give or take. Again, we're losing that yellow circle, and I'm sort of pondering why. That's still a straight line. Well, you know, it's on the same plane as what we want, so that's good. Again, you guys might have seen on Facebook, I posted the picture of this rocket, and I also posted that I achieved an orbit with it, because I did a couple of test ones before I decided to show you guys this, and I did get, it wasn't a clean orbit, but it was an orbit, and I was really pleased and really happy with myself, and I wanted to show you guys, so that's what this episode is all about today. It's me trying to replicate the orbit that I managed to achieve with this rocket. The apoapsis needs to rise a little bit quicker. This fuel is going to run out soon, but that's cool because we've still got one more rocket on top with the brand new fuel tanks, which I showed you guys as well. We got two of the old fuel tanks, and we got one of the new fuel tanks, which is actually just twice the size of the old fuel tanks, and it's also, I mean, it holds twice as much fuel, and it also happens to be exactly twice the size physically. So in reality, there's no difference between having one or the other, but I don't know, I just thought it was new, it was exciting, I'll upgrade. So we're going to tee this off for a second, and we're going to move this over, if it lets me. Yeah, oh, there we go. Jettison that. We're going to start to move this over, like so. And we're going to lock it there. I'm just going to check what this is doing. There you go, our apoapsis is really starting to increase now. It's wonky, but it's increasing. Fuel is going down, so we're going to have to be quick about it. Tilt a little bit more. There we go. And the goal now is to try and achieve a stable orbit. If this one doesn't work, it's just a case of going back into the vehicle assembly building and fiddling around with some settings and, you know, increasing the fuel size and things like that, just making it work like that. It's not too much of a problem right now. You can see the yellow circle. We're going to start following that now because that is going to get us into orbit. It would help if I actually stayed within a circle, like so. See, it's going up to 75, 79, 80,000. And the little circle is moving again, so we're going to keep up with it. And when I did this the first time round, I'm going to power down, like so, save on some fuel. Our apoapsis is going to be 103,000 meters. So at this point, I'm going to try and add a maneuver. I'll zoom out a little bit. That I can then follow, which will put me into a stable orbit. What's that periapsis? 92. That's 133. We'll try that. So unlock, move this over. Brake, lock. Ah, it's nowhere near. Lower that down a little bit. Got to make sure it's as close to as can be. There we go. That looks pretty good. And now we're going to waste the next 58 seconds, 57 seconds talking about what we're going to do when we get to this node. The idea is fire up the thrusters as full as I can and try and get the blue line in line with the orange line, which you'd have seen me try and do many times in the past and not succeed. But this is going to be different because actually when I watched my friend's videos, he didn't use a node planner of any kind. He did it literally freehand and he got a really good orbit. I think it was like 100,000 meters and 98,000 meters, whereas apoapsis and periapsis, which are really impressive, they're so close to being what you want, and Metjeb struggles to do a better job than that. So I was pretty impressed with that as well. But I always need a bit of help. I can't do it by myself. Just going to fire up the thrusters now. Full on thrusters. You can see it's burning away. I really hope we don't run out of fuel, because otherwise poor Jebediah is going to be stranded up in the atmosphere all by himself. This is the tense bit, because you can see this is going down, and it might get to a point where we don't even have enough fuel to break the orbit. So he'll just be stranded up there. Poor thing. We've got just about 10 seconds of burning left. So I'm going to power down a little bit. Just going to wait for that to burn off. Like so. Turn that all the way down. Go on to this. And there it is. I mean, okay, it's not perfect. That's 102,000 and that's 191,000, but it's an orbit, is it not? And that's what we came here for. It's a question now of somewhere there is a blue thing. I've no idea where. There it is. Oop. Bit too far, bit too far, bit too far, bit too far, bit too far. Way too far. Spin this back. And this, I'm going to stick this in here now and lock it. And all I want to do now, if I want to get back into the atmosphere and land, is burn in that direction. For this planet I can get rid of now. And there we go. It's not a perfect orbit, but it's an orbit. There's 102 there, 191 there, and basically I can speed up time warp. And there you go, we're orbiting Kerbin. Look at that. I've said this before and I'll say it again, the graphics on this game are sensational. So now if I turn that way, there's the sun, there's a tiny little rocket flying in the sun. And if I come back this way, there's the sea of Kerbin. Now if I slow this down. And you know, the soundtrack on this game as well is pretty spectacular. And it's all just, it's incredible what they've done with this game. It really is really impressive. Yeah, we're in orbit, so what's left to do now is some experiments. Observe materials bay. Microgravity has greatly affected the growth of crystalline structures. Loose objects are also flying around the bay in a very messy but fascinating way. Let's transmit that. Problem, of course, now is I have done quite a few transmissions from this sort of altitude. So, in terms of science, we're not gaining much from it. But in terms of experience and abilities in this game, we're getting a lot of credibility, and I'm sure you guys are sitting there relieved that I've actually finally managed to achieve an orbit, because I was in the same position as where you guys are probably feeling now of, oh my god, he's never going to do it. But here we are, we've done it. And what's left to do now is pull this one out, because we're going to land this baby. I'd say about there. Actually, I want it a bit steeper than that. Try and do it with using as little fuel as possible. So actually that is probably a lot of fuel. You just want it to be the first time where it doesn't join at the other side, where eventually you will fall back into the atmosphere. So that's too far. So we'll come back this way a little bit. There. Let's see if I can get a little more than that. There? No, that's joined. Although it might lose a little bit with the atmosphere burning. That's a bit too much. There. Let's try that. Yeah, let's try that. Okay. So, I'm going to unlock we're going to move this craft around. It needs 3 minutes of burning to get to this stage. I'm not sure if we've actually got enough fuel left for this, but we can but try. Actually, the logical thing, and I'm going to do that now, is burn at the periapsis. And I don't know why I didn't think of that just now, because that's the closest point to the surface. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to delete that, if I remember how. How do I... Yeah, it's not gone well. I'm just going to start a new one here. Periapsis, add maneuver. Right. I'm going to pull this one in. Like so. Stretch it out a little bit more, of course, because we don't want it to take too much burning. Oh, no, too far. This is delicate work. This is very delicate work. There. I'd say that hit the planet's surface there. So, if we could pull this out a tiny wee bit more. Not quite that far. There. There. That's going to collide with the planet. For sure. Now it's a case of... Am I lined up correctly? I do hope so. I still want to get rid of this one. Ah, that's why I can't. Bugger. I want to add a maneuver to this. That's just adding more maneuvers. Do you know what? I'm just going to face... Oops, didn't mean to press that. I'm just going to face this yellow circle and I'm going to burn for as long as I can the rest of my fuel. So I'm going to lock that in place. And in 3, 2, 1, burn. There we go. Actually, if I burn the rest, just burn the fuel off now. Like so. And then if I power down. There we go. We're already coming down to land. Our apoapsis went to 142,000. But that's fine. All these maneuvers... I think we can get rid of them now. Yep, there we go. Can we get rid of these ones as well? No, we can't. That's fine. We're going to land. We're going to be nice and safe and sound. That's the main thing. We've got up into orbit. We've fiddled around. Might do another transmission. We've got plenty of electrical charge, so... the key thing to do now is to try and do one as you come into land and see if that makes a difference. We're going to keep this locked in place. We're going to time warp a little bit. To there, I'd say. Going to unlock this. We're going to swing it round. We want to come in... Normally you want to come in nose first, but in terms of jettisoning, we want to get rid of the tail end of this rocket. So... Going to lift this up to there, and we're going to lock it, and then in 3, 2, 1, there you go. That is the arse end of the rocket being fired away. The parachute should have opened, that should come down nice and safely. The Separatrons worked beautifully. You heard them fire up there as they blew the rocket away, and that's just going to keep going until they're out of fuel. There's no way to control that from here now, I don't think. Nope. That's cool. You can see we're coming back through the atmosphere, so I'm going to turn that off, because we want to fall towards the surface. Gravity should be taking over at this point. You can see we're getting slowed down by the atmosphere as well, which is brilliant. Going to observe the materials bay as we come through the atmosphere. We're going to transmit that data. 1.6 science we got for that one. And now we're going to fire our parachute in 3, 2, 1. And look at that, we're over land. This craft is now going to swing down so that it will land on its legs, because it would be a disaster if it didn't. And what's left to do now is just to use up what's left of our electrical charge. Do another transmission, see what we get for that. Next to nothing, I bet. 1.4. We do a crew report. Transmit that. If it will let us. While we can. There you go, parachute's opened. We've got 3.5 science for doing a crew report. That's pretty impressive. And yeah, just gotta wait for it to land on the surface now. I am looking at the time, guys. This is an extended episode of Kerbal. A lot of episodes now are going to be 20 minutes plus, because you know it takes a lot of time to get into orbit. It takes a lot of time to swing around in orbit, and then it takes a lot of time to come back from orbit. So it'll be very rarely that you get a short episode now, unless it's a one-way trip, of course. Which, once we've unlocked unmanned technology, that's what we're going to do. We're going to fire up loads of satellites into the atmosphere and just have them rotate round. And that will do data for us and things like that. That's the plan. We're going to have like a little hub from Kerbal. This is a new part of the planet, I think. I don't think I've been here before. It looks quite dead, like a desert. We're going to land. There we go. We are down. Little Jebediah has survived the excursion. What does that do? Oh yeah, that goes inside. If I press C, we go back outside. Right. Let's do one more science bay. So this would be worth 7.5. Aha, it is a desert. So we're going to do one more transmission. We're going to get 20% of that 7.5, so it's going to be about 1 point something. Yeah, 1.5. That's going to fold away again. And then we're going to send little Jebediah out on his excursion. Let go. Oh, does a little backflip in the air. Needs to get up. There we go. And we're going to start trotting away from the craft. Over here. And we're going to pop a flag. I already have an idea for what this test site is going to be called. Or, you know, this site's going to be called. It's going to be called an orbit achieved. Have I spelled achieved right? It looks like it. Desert. Oops. Landing. But happy all the same. I believe the Apollo missions, pretty sure all of the craft landed in the ocean when they came back. It can't be cheap to build legs on, on craft like this. So yeah, we're breaking boundaries here by putting craft, and we can actually have little expeditions there out of the craft to observe what's going on around us where we've landed, and we actually learn more about the planet of Kerbal, as well as Kerbin, as well as all the other stuff. I'm talking bull now. Right, let's recover the ship first. Got 1.7 science for that. I believe that's the craft that we've just pulled in, like the actual landing vessel. Debris. This is all. These are the solid rocket boosters. So we've got the debris. In fact, yeah, these are all the rocket boosters. They fall straight back to the planet's surface, which happens to be the launch pad, which is why they say landed at launch pad at the bottom. It's been 45 minutes since we launched, allegedly, but we have sped time up as well, which could be why. And then finally we're going to bring back little Jebediah. And he's brought us 11.4 science, so we're up to 27 science now. So we got some data from the deserts, which got us 2.4, and we got 9 from Kerbin's deserts as well. That's the surface sample got us 9, and the report got us 2.4, which is good. And the more of the planet's surface we explore, the more science we can get, and the more that we actually ourselves find out about what's going on around our little Kerbals. I'm going to go into the R&D department again because I just want to see how much this is going to cost, because that is unmanned, that little thing there, and once we've got that we can start putting what they call satellites into the atmosphere. And then we have little winglets here as well, which we could use, I suppose. That's a cockpit for a space plane, and that is an inline reaction wheel, which I suppose you could use for a spacecraft or a space plane or something like that. It might be handy for a satellite as well. Yeah, guys, this episode has hit the half-an-hour mark, so I think it's very much time that I ended it. So it's just left to say thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, be sure to click the subscribe button below. If you have subscribed to my channel, then thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, guys, I will see you soon.